Hey, all right. Do you want to have a bit of a laugh at the expense of big tech and how they think they're really cool, but us gamers look at them and basically have a big laugh? Because today it is time to clown on Meta, and we're not doing it alone. We are in fact joined by none other than Mr. Phil Spencer, the boss of Xbox, who said the Metaverse is a poorly built video game. For me, building a Metaverse that looks like a meeting room, I just find that's not where I want to spend most of my time. Now, Phil Spencer is an executive. Funny enough, an executive doesn't want to spend even more of his time in a meeting room. So yeah, there you go. For Meta, things are not going good. Their stock price is absolutely tanking, right? Following basically the Zuck doubling down on the Metaverse. They're posting big losses in their financial reports. Their stock price is tanking like, oh my god, look at that graph. And to give you an idea of the level of delusion I think that the Zuck has, because like, look, Zuckerberg, he's obviously a smart dude, right? I mean, hey, he kind of did a thing to rate how hot girls were at his college and then spun that into Facebook and got all the money in the universe, so that was a bit weird, wasn't it? But anyway, it turned out pretty good for him. Now, recently I was shopping, I was listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast, which, you know, good podcast, I enjoy it. But the Zuck was on one of the episodes, around the same time he did Lex Friedman's podcast. And in that, the Zuck was talking about Ready Player One like it was a groundbreaking piece of philosophy. It ain't. it ain't. It's that thing, I forget the writer who said it, but, you know, it's that idea where if an author made a book called Don't Build the Torment Nexus, some completely socially unintelligent tech bro would probably see that and think, oh wow, I'm going to build the Torment Nexus. It's a little bit like that. I mean, you look at Ready Player One, and that is not a good world. And you listen to the Zuck basically talking like Ready Player One is this fucking incredible, groundbreaking thing that's going to unlock and unleash the roaring lion of human creativity. And you're like, Zuck, no, that this is the epitome of get in the box and eat the ants, you madman. So, it's no surprise that all of us regular people of the world look at a lot of this metaverse stuff and think, no, please don't go and make a alternate reality that you're going to suck us into so that you can basically go 100% capitalism to the tits on every single form of this new virtual future. It's basically like, hey, do you want it? You're Valve. Do you make Half-Life 3 to make money, or do you run a platform and take a cut to make money? Obviously, you do the latter. Right? That's the benefit of having a platform. And that is why so many big tech companies entirely rely on network effect platforms. That's why they do that. Just that now they want a platform in the form of the metaverse that is significantly more, you know, immersive and yada, 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 yada. Basically, so that they can sell you a digital shirt or digital yoga pants. And I suppose there is the stuff about, you know, the human interaction and all of that, but I think a lot of people just aren't buying it. As Phil says, poorly built video game, and I do tend to agree. Now that said, you know, there are people who say the metaverse does not have legs, but they're wrong. They're wrong. They're lying. You know, you can't trust those people because, as you can see in this very video, the metaverse does have legs. Look at that. And, you know, it's quite funny. They're talking about this as if it's the most insanely impressive thing in the universe. We've had inverse kinematic for years, and VR games have given you legs before. How deluded are these tech bros? That's the thing that I want to know. Apparently deluded enough to pour yet more billions into this project. So yeah, Meta's got legs, but it actually turned out that video was using motion capture tech outside of their consumer available brands. So that in fact was a lie. That was a lie. It was some motion capture. You're obviously not going to be able to move your legs like that because unless you have tracking on, I suppose, your ankles and your knees, you just have to do basic inverse kinematics, you know, depending on the body height and the headset position. In which case, there's only so many things you can do because it literally doesn't know where your foot is. It's just using IK, like similar animation tech to what's used in games. So yeah, even when they try to say that VR literally has legs, it's artifice. Incredible. And I mean, like legs, we've never seen them before. We definitely have not seen, you know, as an example, a big old furry VR chat live exercise session. No, don't look at that. Don't look at that. The Zuck didn't make that, so you shouldn't think about it. But beyond the shocking reveal of legs, we do actually have where they've went with the Meta Quest Pro. So the Meta Quest is, to be honest with you, a absolutely goddamn awesome product. It has inside-out tracking that is just incredible. It is one of those things, you pop it on, you play some Beat Saber, the wow factor hits you. This is consumer VR that is easy to use and accessible. It's awesome. The Meta Quest Pro, though, shows where they really want to go, and that is... I want to go enterprise. Oh yeah, baby, because while you may be looking for the Meta Quest 2, which I think is now $399, it actually launched at $299. Oh, yeah, it's going to be $1499 for the Meta Quest Pro. So, ouch. Now, for the same price, you could actually buy a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, and a Quest 2. Which is pretty incredible. You could buy 4, OLED switches. Of course, the Meta Quest Pro is in fact more expensive than many full gaming PCs. And to be honest, you could probably get a basic enough gaming PC and then use a Quest 2 in pass-through mode and just have that. Now, in fairness, the Quest Pro, it's an awesome bit of kit. It's almost certainly overpriced though. But of course, it is designed for corporate. Right? Because, you got Meta Horizon, and I know Phil Spencer may not want this, but maybe Phil Spencer is just a silly old boomer and he doesn't understand the future, even though he is in fact heading up Xbox. No, silly old boomer. Imagine if you and your corporate friends could all, imagine if head office could buy 300, Quest Pros, and then you could be sitting there in your underwear, you could pop a Quest on, and you could all go into a virtual boardroom and conduct your meeting there. For some reason. I mean, even though you're going to have a little bit of neck and head strain, you're going to have a little bit of a sweaty situation, perhaps. Maybe your eyes don't agree with it fully, right? Because it can, lead to a little bit of eye strain. All of these things that I think don't really make it at all as next level as the Zuck says. Because ultimately, I think if you really want to do this, it needs to be like a pair of eyeglasses. Apparently, Apple is working on some really, really cool shit in that realm, but fundamentally, these work as a gaming box. I really don't think they work to conduct a virtual meeting. Now, they're not abandoning Vidya, okay? Because we do have Among Us VR coming out November 10th. We've got The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, and then there's the previously PSVR exclusive Iron Man VR that is making the jump to MetaQuest on November 3rd. Now, that is a game that is being made by a developer who are actually now owned by Meta, and Meta are also going to acquire Armature Studio. So there is commitment to that, which does make sense. Also, the Oculus Quest 2 and Meta Quest Pro will have access to the xCloud part of Xbox Game Pass. Now, this was interesting to me. So one of the things that I found to be interesting, but not quite there yet on my Oculus Quest 2 is what it was called when I bought it, is you can pop it on, right? And you can just set yourself into a cinema mode that basically feels like most of your field of view, right? And it legit shockingly does feel like there's a massive screen in front of you, but you do have some issues with the screen door effect. You can tell that while this, to a lot of your brain's processing, does look like you're literally sitting in a cinema, there are a few things where you just know that these pixels are very close to your eye. So I don't know if we have to get better with the screen door effect. I don't know if we need to cram even more pixels in there. It's not quite perfect, but what I will say is that if you have amazing internet and you sit down on your sofa and connect an Xbox controller to your Meta Quest and put a massive screen in front of you, yeah, you will have a shockingly immersive experience. Surprisingly so, I can see that winning. For Microsoft, of course, this is another win. This gets them a little bit entrenched, maybe helps them flesh out the rest of their partnership with Meta, because they do have a bit of a partnership with Meta when it comes to the workplace stuff like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. For Meta, it's also a good sign they're not abandoning gamers for corporate customers. So there's also that, because, I don't know, I kind of wonder, has their gaming not really caught on as much as they wanted in terms of revenue? It's hard to say. I mean, they're literally pouring billions into this and, kind of losing those billions. But ultimately, it basically is just there for playing 2D games on a massive screen while you're wearing a headset. It's basically that. Now, of course, can this replace your TV? No. I mean, it could if you always had it plugged in, but obviously the battery side of things, maybe 1.5, 2 hours, that just ain't gonna work. So yeah, it's a strange little thing. But next, I have another metaverse play for you that is absolutely goddamn hilarious. Okay. Decentraland. Ooh, a whole land is decentralized. Decentraland, which is a company with a market cap of $1.2 billion US, it recently faced some fun reports that even though they have this lovely market cap of $1.2 billion, showing a lot of investors are casting their lot with them, they only had 38 active users. 38 active users on their platform that allows for in-game monetization by users. Now, it's actually not the whole story. The whole story's worse. Decentraland were then quick to push back, right? They said that active users are defined as unique blockchain wallet addresses that interact with its systems, right? So basically users who log in to chat or interact with other users, they're not being counted. DApp Radar doesn't track our users, only people interacting with our contracts, Decentraland's creative director Sam Hamilton told CoinDesk, adding that the platform averages 8,000 users on an average day. Now, 8,000 daily users, especially considering that, you do require decently expensive, more niche technology to actually get in, that does sound pretty good, right? I mean, that's probably enough to, well, create a community if you're a normal company. But to take a look at, I mean, here's some data, right, from Decentraland. 57, just shy of 57,000 MAUs, 1,000 odd users interacting with smart contracts. There's the amount of, minted emotes. 6,315 sold wearables, pretty decent. 300 creators getting loyalties, 161 community events, and 148 DAO proposals. However, if only 0.019% of your monthly player base are putting money into the system by engaging with the smart contracts, then maybe that's not the flex that they think it is. 300 creators out of that entire population received royalties, which is a bit of a red flag, right? So basically, there are not returns in the metaverse right now. This is all a humongous future-looking bet, because that's the way that it is, right? You got to make a bet, put a lot of money into that bet, see if it'll pan out. And right now, it doesn't really seem to be catching on. To be honest with you, a lot of this feels, I know it's not literally first gen, but it feels like in 20 years, we maybe will look back at this era and think, wow, they really tried before they had the seamless technology. Because, of course, in 20 years, we'll probably be able to pop on eyeglasses that do the same thing as an Oculus Quest 2, right? I mean, I don't understand how it'll happen, but it'll probably happen. To look at some fun things, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp together attract more than 3.5 billion monthly active users, a figure equivalent to almost half the world's population. Horizon is currently reaching less than the population of, this place, I assume, in South Dakota. According to internal statistics, only 9% of worlds built by creators are ever visited by at least 50 people. Most are never visited at all. An empty world is a sad world, said a document summarizing the company's efforts to herd users towards venues where they'd encounter others. So this stuff ain't working. What do you pivot towards? You pivot towards enterprise users. A situation where you have office managers with deep pockets, a desire to be on the cutting edge, they're the type that are spending, so many thousands in, like, say, the Microsoft Hub, the big sort of like interactive whiteboard thing. Even, Zuckerberg admitted to The Verge. So there are really two sets of folks. One is just people who want the best VR device anyone has ever made. I think if you want that, this is it. Speaking, of course, of the new Quest. He says it's better than the Quest 2. It's a lot more expensive. Won't be for everybody. The second is people who want basically a device that's for productivity. This is the bit where I start to think, would that really be productive? So it's basically divided into the consumer-focused, entertainment-focused thing like gaming, social, fitness. I mean, I've even done some fitness in my Oculus. Tell you what, I can maintain a heart rate of 135 BPM playing Beat Saber, which was quite something. But where he really says the thing that matters, there's also clearly a market for people who want to pay or are willing to pay $1,500, even $2,000, high-end professionals for their workstations. And that's really where the mess starts, because if Meta's staff can't even find good use cases for adopting their own workspace tech, then what the hell's the point? So here's some fun little internal memos from Meta's VP of the Metaverse, Vishal Sah. These have been seen by The Verge. Here we go. Here's the quote. For many of us, we don't spend that much time in Horizon. And our dog-fooding dashboards show this pretty clearly, he wrote to employees September 15th. Why is that? Why don't we love the product we've built? We've built so much that we want to use it all the time. The simple truth is, if we don't love it, how do we expect our users to love it? Meta are spending billions of dollars to build the metaverse as a piece of enterprise productivity tech. And the vice president of the metaverse is saying, our own staff aren't spending time in this. Why aren't we doing that? If we're not doing it, there must be a reason, and if we won't use it, then obviously customers won't. Bruh! Have they lost their marbles? It seems to me like they have just pumped money into this far faster than they've been able to, I would say, perhaps efficiently deploy that capital. Because there's a follow-up memo dated September 30th, where SAS said that employees still were not using Horizon enough, writing that a plan was being made to hold managers accountable for having their teams use Horizon at least once a week. Everyone in this organization should make it their mission to fall in love with Horizon Worlds. You can't do that without using it. Yeah, but dude, the point is you should use it for the first time and it should just spark joy and, spark your imagination and create happiness and like, oh my god, isn't this cool? Us crazy ape-descended beings have made this magic box that teleports you to a new world. But you haven't done that. It's not that good. It's not good enough. Your own employees won't even use it. You're now basically having to hold managers accountable to using your own product. That's insane. Here's a fun tweet from Kevin here. John Carmack, a legendary game developer who works part-time at Meta, has sounded off on the company's metaverse strategy in internal workplace posts, criticizing excessive spending and calling certain VR features extremely bad for user enjoyment. Fantastic. So this overall then paints a pretty dire situation for the uptake of this tech across all the fields. So for a lot of mild users, it's just too expensive. People have already balked at the $5.99 price of PSVR 2. Games are being priced out then, because if you're kind of doubling down on enterprise clients, you're focusing on that end of the market. It's a bit rough. Like HTC, are they trying to make money by selling me a HTC Vive that I can play Half-Life Alyx on? Fuck no! Because right now I'm considering blowing $4,500 on the HTC camera tracking stuff for virtual production. HTC have found that a bunch of their virtual reality technology is actually best used for, making The Mandalorian and things like that. And I suppose democratizing the technology used to make The Mandalorian, which means that for a bozo like me, it's actually possible that within our business, I could do a virtual production experiment, as enabled by HTC. So it's not that this technology is going nowhere. I mean, the inside-out tracking of the Meta Quest is fucking incredible. It's amazing technology. I'm sure whenever Apple, actually it's that thing. Touchscreens existed before the iPhone. So many things existed before the iPhone. Apple really doesn't invent technology. But what they do, right, is they have created and driven new product segments, like the smartwatch. I mean, I remember my dad having GPS Garmin smartwatches like years and years before the Apple Watch came out. But it took Apple to wrap it all up into a consumer product that can capture the market. And I know, hey, there was a time where I was all, PC gaming master race. I'll never touch a Mac and I will use an Android phone, like a Galaxy or the One M8 that I had. But you cannot deny Apple's deep market penetration. Look at the iPhone in the United States. They created product segments like tablets existed before the iPad. Smartwatches existed before the Apple Watch. Smartphones existed before the iPhone. But they ended up being trendsetters by having the first mass market version of something in those product segments that, your mum could use, your gran could use, that kind of thing. So what it's going to take, I think, for this is Apple releasing something that is able to be like an iPhone moment for this. And I just don't think that Meta are the company to do that, frankly. Like, you look at what they're good at, and it really ain't this kind of thing. Yet, I think, on the Zuck's personal whims, because apparently he likes to jerk it furiously to Ready Player One, like it's the most groundbreaking thing ever, and he thinks, don't make the Torment Nexus? No, I will make the Torment Nexus, for I am a tech bro. And I guess we're just seeing that. This is obviously not making sense. It's not successful enough that Facebook themselves will even use it. So I think this is definitely the whims of an extremely wealthy man with a hell of a lot of influence. And it's just interesting that we've seen HTC find success in other things. We've seen, I think, the Valve Index make a lot of sense for Valve. You look at top selling in Steam, which is something that is sorted by the amount of dollars spent. And like, the Valve Index is always high up there. So I think this just ain't working for people. And then what's really funny is the non-VR metaverse is actually doing better with like Fortnite and Roblox. And then, of course, VR chat's destroying Meta. The Zuck is being destroyed by furry workouts. Which, I mean, I don't say to diss the furries doing their workouts, but like, it's funny, isn't it? The Zuck. Billions of dollars. Bunch of virtual fursuits. Who's winning? Of course, it's the furries and the gamers. Obviously! Because we want to do a thing that's fun. So we'll be aligned towards that, instead of a bunch of completely out-of-touch tech bros fucking the whole thing. And if you want another thing of the tech bros fucking the whole thing, remember what DJ Wheat said about Twitch. He talked about how employees from big tech, like your Facebooks and your Googles, would come into Twitch and they wouldn't understand gaming. They wouldn't understand that part of the user experience, which for Twitch means, bad shit for the users, bad shit for the creators. And I think we are just seeing the same. These out of touch, I would say, extremely competent in a narrow field, tech people coming in, absolutely failing. And unfortunately, VR has no legs is the thing that a lot of people are thinking, because you look at this. And here's what I think is sad. It's one of the criticisms that I would have of the blitzscaling thing. Blitzscaling was a term sort of from Reid Hoffman, I believe, who's the founder of LinkedIn. But it's the idea, right? Obviously, it comes from the Blitzkrieg. The Blitzkrieg, basically, Second World War, all that jazz. But it's the idea of doing an attack extending beyond your own supply lines, because if it basically, you're making the big bet, and if it's successful, fantastic, now you've taken France, basically, right? I don't know why we've done it this way, but sure we have. But the thing that worries me, right? In blitzscaling, you can, have these companies be humongously pumped up by venture capital money. They try to near monopolize a sector without actually finding profitability. They kill a whole bunch of their natural competitors because they have an unfair advantage because, I don't know, is it your man from is it Masayoshi-san from the SoftBank Vision Fund? But that idea anyway, that it's like, yeah, you're only doing well because SoftBank is literally paying for your users to get free cab rides. But it's the idea that in a VC subsidized business model, a lot of space is crowded out. A lot of potential grassroots strong competitors get killed in the process of the big mammoth companies trying to make their massive play. And it just ends up being bad for the ecosystem overall. And that's what makes me sad, because I'm actually extremely passionate about virtual reality. I had an Oculus DK2. I've used the DK1. I absolutely love my DK2. I own a HTC Vive. I own a Valve Index. Some of those are owned via the company because there's times you're experimenting with that. I owned a an Oculus Quest 1. I later sold that and bought the Oculus Quest 2. I absolutely love virtual reality. Beat Saber's, I've played dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of Beat Saber and many other virtual reality titles. So, I am a VR enthusiast, right? And, even I look at this and it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? So there you go. Basically, do you know what the point of today's video was? We can laugh at the laughable tech bros. So yeah, let's do it because it's really funny. The Zuck's burning billions in something that his own employees don't even want to use, all because he has a massive hard-on for Ready Player One. I'm sure he'd slightly disagree with that sentiment, but hey, you know how it is. That's it from me, I suppose. Look, if you've had an amazing VR social experience, let us know down in the comments, because it is possible, just seemingly not in the way the Zuck's trying to do it. Have a brilliant day. I'll see you next time.